Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video we will be doing a playthrough here for Solitaire Sunday using the game Casino from Cities of the Damned. This is from Against the Odds issue number 60, which was the first of the games that we looked at in our midweek magazine segment just this past Wednesday. So we're going to play both of the games. The other one would be Aachen, but this Casino will do first. It also came first chronologically, so that's a good reason. We'll start by taking a look at some of the components. As you can see, this is the entirety of the map. We also have the side map here for the rail area, the rail map. Both have turn record tracks. There is a little bit of an errata here with the turn record track on the main map. Everything is listed as March 15th. It is correct here on the rail track, running March 15th through March 22nd. That is the length of the game. So we're going to use the turn track on the rail card for the turns and the victory point track. And I will track around our number of air and artillery support down here in the corner, as well as our action points. Now the units themselves, everything is actually set up, and you may notice there's nothing on here as far as the Germans. The Germans are actually drawn out of an opaque cup as the situation comes up for their defense in various areas. Talking about what the Allies bring to the table. So we have the 24th New Zealand Infantry here. This is a battalion, 4 companies. So we have companies A and B here in map area 54. You'll notice the numbers here at the bottom. You'll see 1, that's the elevation, and the 0 is the level of resistance. So if they're in black, that is German held area, and if they're in white, that is the Allied held area. So the Allies hold this area here to the north, and because north is in this direction, you can see the arrow down here. 1,000 feet is the scale. So we've got a couple companies here in area 54, A and B. Then companies C and D are here in 58. Then we have the 25th New Zealand here, A and B in 55, and C and D in 59. And down here, because the Allies also have the eastern side, they can enter in either of these two. And we'll get to that, how they enter in a little bit. But we have the 26th New Zealand here, all 4 companies. And then we have Company C of the 19th New Zealand Armored Battalion. So that's Company C there. And armor is designated, you can see here, if I pick the counter up. So the counters are pretty simple and easy to read. You can see there's a 2. That 2 is the combat factor for the unit. And all of the units have those, including the Germans. And we'll see the Germans once we pull them out of the cup. So it's kind of clever because the Germans will pop out in whatever area the Allies move into, and combat will happen. There'll be a resolution, and then afterwards, regardless of what happens, the Germans go back in the cup. That way you only need a handful, or double handful maybe, let's say, of counters to cover the Germans' defense without getting into specifics and everything. Keeps the number of counters down and makes the overhead a little bit easier to manage, I would say. So I think that's a pretty clever mechanic. So it's basically chit draw, which is cool. So once we've got everything set up, which we do, we would roll for our weather condition. So in turn 1, the weather's automatically clear, and the turn marker is double-sided. So here's the clear side, and if we flip it over, we have the rainy side. And that impacts how many action points you get, which basically helps determine how many actions, as you might guess, that you as the Allies can take. Now, the forces you're working with primarily, at least at the start, are New Zealand forces, as we already saw. There are some British and some Indian forces as well that will come in later on down the road. So after we roll for weather, we would roll for our air support, and that's There's a bunch of charts, and I'll show the charts here separately, rather because they're in the book. So I will, do a scan, and then I'll put it up as kind of a graphic so you can see the various charts for the game. But the role for that, I'm doing the example of play by the way. So example of play, which is printed in the rules and covers turn 1. So we're going to go through that, and then I will use that as kind of the kickoff point for playing the rest of the game. I don't know how long it'll take me to play the whole game, and I also want to do Aachen, so I don't want this to go very far in terms of number of episodes for this particular Solitaire Sunday. So we roll a 1, and you need 2d6 for this game, different colors. So we'll say we rolled a 1 because that's what's in the example of play. And it's odd. So it's odd and even basically, and we get 3 air support points, which is this counter right here. And I marked it here on our record track. We do the same thing for artillery. We roll, the die roll is a 2, which gives us 4 artillery support. And then we would, for action points, we roll again, and we also get a 2, and we add 4 based on the clear weather instead of 2, which is what you get with rainy weather, which gives us 6 action points. So that's right here. So once we do that, then we're ready for action here, so to speak. And the first thing we do is spend 3 action points to activate companies A and B of the 26th, which are right here. And they're entering from off map, so they're going to enter the convent, which is 10, area 10 here. Now you can see the elevation is 1 and the German resistance level is 1. Now, as they move from off map, they are not marked as attacking uphill, because if you go from, let's find an example here. If we go from 1 here to 2, that's attacking uphill. Or if you attack across this blue line, which these guys will be doing, that's attacking across the river. So those add die roll modifiers. So this area 10 is German occupied, so it is a contested area that we must have combat in. So we elect to use our armor unit, which is this guy right here, to lower the German reinforcement level by 1, which means they'll draw whatever the die roll indicates we should pull from our cup. This will reduce it by 1. So this is that armor unit we already looked at. So I'm just going to tuck him in here. His combat factor won't affect the combat in here because we used him to reduce the number of German units. So it's an either-or proposition there. We're also going to elect to use one of our artillery support, which will put it down to a 3. So we have to choose a lead unit. We'll take company A as our lead unit. So you take the combat factor for them, which is a 3, as you can see right there. And then the other one, company B, will add 1. So you have a total of 4. 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5. So the combat factor is 5 because the tank unit can't be used for this. Now the German resistance level here is a 1, as we see right here on the map. The die roll, and we roll it on the German resistance table. So here is the tables that I was mentioning, and I haven't scanned it yet. So the German resistance table is down here. So you roll, and odd would be 1 unit, and even would be 2. So we rolled a 4, and we can put I'm using blue for the German, so we'll just say we rolled a 4. Now with a 4, that's an even number, of course, so that would be 3, because you take the 1 here plus the 2 for the even number would be 3. We reduce that by 1 because we used our armor, and we draw 2 chits out. And we also remove a second 1 because the turn 1 first operation phase has a built-in reduction of 1. So the Germans are slow to react in turn 1. So what was a 3 becomes a 1. So we draw 1 counter, and we get a machine gun. That's what this indicates, and a combat factor of 1. So that's what the Germans have. When you have a machine gun, you have to do a die roll check but we add 2 because we do have the armor unit in the hex or box area. So that actually, because there is armor support, machine guns are ineffective against armor, as you know. So we add 2 to the die roll, and the die roll is a 4 again, which is modified to a 5, which is higher than the machine gun unit's combat factor of 1. So there is no reduction or adverse effect on our attacking allied unit. Now we roll two dice. So I use red and blue rather. We roll 2 dice and we get a 3 for the Allies and a 2 for the Germans, like that. Or actually, I guess it would be that. 3 and 2. And the die rolls are added to their respective combat factors. We know the Allies are a 5, so that gives them an 8. The Germans have a 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 more is a 4, so that is 8 to 4. The Germans have the lower total and have 4 CCR inflicted upon them. That's basically your combat reductions, so that's far over the ones they have there, since they only have 1 German unit. So this unit's going to go back in the cup because they're not actually eliminated. They are eliminated, but again, the defense is somewhat amorphous and represented by the chits that are in the cup, so they get recycled and they aren't designated as specific units, just types basically. So our machine gun unit has been eliminated. The Allies take control of this area. You mark it with a marker, which is this guy right here, to say that this is now controlled by the British or the Commonwealth forces in this case. And then you can advance. You've taken this over now, and so now we're able to make another decision. We can have the stack continue on to a second area, and so we will do that, and we'll enter area 17 here, which again, same elevation, and it is again a resistance level of 1 here. So we're not attacking uphill. The area is also German controlled, and another combat ensues. This time we're not going to use any air or artillery support points, and we're going to use Company A again as our lead unit. So we have 2 support units. This guy, I guess, would stay here, I believe. But we have, well, actually, no, the artillery. Yeah, because all 3 of these were activated with our 3 APs that we expended at the beginning. Which actually, this would leave us with 3 action points. We used this one, but he was still activated. So he's on map. So now, because he was used here for the reduction in the defense, he's not being used for that now. So it's 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5 again. And the Germans roll a 4 again, so we'll just say that they've got a 4. Oops, that's a 5. There it is, 4. They have a 4, which again results in 2 more units, but they only draw 2 because, again, it's turn 1 and they get reduced. So this time they get a machine gun, an infantry unit, and they're both control factors of 1. So that would be the infantry unit and the machine gun are both 1s. So they're a 2 plus 1 is 3, so it is 5 to 3. We're going to roll again. First, we have to check our machine gun result again, because machine guns and armor, when you pull a machine gun unit or an armor unit, you have to do a die roll to see how they affect the Allied forces, because they're obviously better defenders than just infantry alone. So we subtract 1 from the die roll for the German resistance level, but we add 2 because, again, we have a tank unit. So that would give us a total die roll modifier of a +1. Our die roll for the British is a 3. Our 3 gets modified to a 4 by our die roll modifier of 1. And 4 is higher than the 1 combat factor of our machine gun unit, so there are no adverse effects. Now we roll again. And this time, the Germans, this is for the combat, the Germans roll a 6, and the British, well, they roll a 1. The Commonwealth forces, rather, roll a 1. So now They have a 5, so that becomes a 6, but the Germans have 3, so that becomes a 9. So 9 minus 6 is 3, so they have 3 combat reductions to deal with. Now, you can take a step loss. All of these units are 2 steps, so you can reduce them like that. A second reduction results in them being eliminated. Or you can retreat them back, and that's each one you do that with satisfies one of your losses, so that's what they'll do. They'll take both of these guys back. They'll lick their wounds and be satisfied with taking the convent. And the Germans would retain possession of this, but these units, again, go back into the cup, right? Because our defense is always dynamic. We're always drawing chits to find out what our defense is. Okay, so these units are still capable of acting because you can move into up to 3 areas in clear weather or 2 areas in rainy weather. So since it's clear weather, they can move into a 3rd area. So this would be 1, that was 2. They could try something else again. So we'll try and attack area 17 again. So we're going to send them right back in. They were repulsed the last time. We're going right back in. We've got the same combat strength of 5. We're going to have the same lead unit and all that stuff. So this time, though, what we'll do is we'll have this tank unit be used again to reduce the number of Germans. So we're only going to end up with 1 German unit, but we lose one of our support points, meaning that it's now 4. So they have a 4, but the Germans will only have 1 unit. But we can use an air support, so we'll do that, which moves the air support down to 2. Now we're back up to a 5. And the die roll on the German resistance table's even, but due to the tank unit being used to reduce the number and the turn 1 first operation phase reduction, we're down to, again, 1 unit. And this time we draw a Stug 3. So it is a 1 combat factor Stug 3. You can see the mark on there. So he goes in here. That gives them a defense factor of 2, or combat factor on defense of 2, compared to the Commonwealth. I keep wanting to say British. It's Commonwealth combat factor of 5. So it's 5-2, but this is an armor unit, so we have, again, to check for its impact on the adverse effect, rather, on our attacking units. So this is a tank duel check, because this is an optional rule, because both sides have a tank. So it's an armor, it's for tank duel. And so the way that variant rule works is when a German armored unit is drawn and an Allied armored unit is present, the player rolls a die. If the DR is even, the German armor unit's attack is resolved per the rule, the basic rule, which we didn't get into, but we will if we need to. And we will at some point during the game. So if the die roll is odd, however, the Allied armor fires first and the player rolls a die. If it's less than or equal to the Allied unit's CF, the German armor goes back to the opaque container after its own attack is resolved. It is not further used in calculating German counterattack resolution. So that means if we roll higher, then his attack would be, he would be eliminated after his attack and go back, and that would remove their defense, or reduce their defense, rather, to a 1. So we roll a die for the British. It's odd, so they get to fire first. Another die roll is made, and this time they roll a 1. Good shooting, mates. This causes the German Stug 3 to be immediately returned to the opaque container, and its combat factor will not be used in resolving the combat, reducing their total to 1, which is what I had mentioned earlier. So now 2 dice are rolled again. The Allies get a 2, and the Germans again get a 6. So again, it's 2 and 6, so that becomes a 7, and this becomes a tie, because the Allies also have 7. 2 plus 5 is 7 as well. So as the 2 totals match, neither side wins the battle and no losses are inflicted. The German unit is drawn from the cup and turned upside down, like such, to indicate that this area is contested. So they will have to come back and fight it out again. As this was the third map area entered by these units, their activation is done, and they can now remain in the area and have to wait a German counterattack. Now we will spend another action point, leaving us with 2, to activate Company C and move them into Area 61. Now the German defense area here is a 0, or defense resistance level, is a 0. The elevation's 1, but again, we don't have to worry about attacking uphill as we're moving in from off map. We still have Company D that we can deploy onto the map as well into one of these 2 spots. But for now, we have Company C going in. And so it has a combat factor of 3. And we're going to use 1 artillery support point, which moves us down to 2. And that raises them up to a 4. The German resistance level, well, in the play example, it actually says the resistance level here is 1, but it shows a 0. I'll go with what it says, and we'll use 1. Okay, so the Germans they roll an odd number, so they get 2. But again, it's still turn 1, so they only get to draw 1 unit, and they draw a 2 CF infantry unit. We put that in there. So that gives the Germans a combat factor of 3. 2 dice are rolled, and both sides roll a 5. Okay, so since they both rolled a 5 and the British have a 4 and the Germans have a 3, that gives the British, or the Commonwealth a 9, and that's 2 more than the Germans' 7. So yeah, because it corrected itself, because that's a 2. So 2 plus 5 is 7, and 3 plus 1 for the air is 4, plus 5 is 9. So 9, 7. So again, that's more than 2. So these guys get pulled out again, and they're gone. And this guy has now taken that area. And so we would put another control marker here to indicate that they have now controlled this area as well. And now we're going to move this guy to area 10 and stop his movement, because we want to maintain a line of communications between the east map edge and our contested combat up here, to avoid any negative negative impact of being basically cut off. If the Germans were to counterattack and take this back, that would be bad. So in this way, we protect ourselves, we protect our lines of supply out to this area here where there's combat going on. This area is not named, but that's area 17. This is the convent, so the convent is occupied now by Company C. We have 1 left. We'll take Company D and spend our next action point, and it's going to move through 61 into 6. Now this has a gold star in it, which indicates that that is a victory point area. And of course, we're going to have another combat. We're going to use an artillery support, leaving us with 1, and an air support, which will also leave us with 1, but that gives us 2, giving us a strength of 5. Although we're going to use the artillery, we're going to use the artillery to reduce German reinforcements. The resistance level's 1. So we'll have a combat strength of 4, and we're going to reduce the Germans' resistance level by 1, which means we'll probably end up with, we're going to end up with at most 1 German unit in this area. So the Germans roll, and it's a 4, which is two units, which again gets reduced because of the artillery support, and the instead of they rolled for a 2, plus the 1 would give them 3, and then we take -2 off, 1 for being turn 1 and 1 for having our artillery attacking. So they draw a level 2 combat factor machine gun unit, so we put that in there, which gives them a 3, so it's 4-3. Now we have to roll again for our machine gun impact on the combat. So we make a roll, and with the artillery support and German resistance offsetting one another for die rolls, the die roll is a 1, which equals the machine gun unit's combat factor. So they get a 1. So that actually equals the German machine guns combat factor, and so D26 has to retreat rather than, or it could take a step loss, but we're going to retreat it back to area 61 and take our lumps, and this guy again will go back in the cup because the German units don't stay on the map. Now, not wanting to burn up our last remaining artillery or air support points because we have other actions we might want to think about doing over here on the northern side, we're going to actually not use our last one action point. So with all of the activations concluded for the first round of the operation phase, the play now proceeds to the German counterattack portion of the operations phase. There's one contested area, map area 17 right here, and two Allied controlled areas adjacent to a victory point area. Here's our victory point area, and here's our two adjacent that are now Allied control. All will be the sites of potential German counterattacks. So the player elects to resolve the counterattack in 17 first, so that's this guy. There's a -1 DRM for this being the first round of turn 1. The die roll for the Germans is a 3. There's the 3. Boom. Modified to 2 by that -1 die roll modifier for a small scale counterattack result. So again, if we look here, here's our German counterattack table. You can see a 2 or a 3 is a small scale counterattack. Draw the number of German units equal to the area's resistance factor plus 1. So we're going to draw 1 extra unit because we have a 1 here. So we will draw out some units, or rather 1 unit. Oh, that's right. The operations phase doesn't count, so we actually do draw 2. So we're going to we can now, because we know this, we can now elect to use our armor to reduce that back to 1. So that's what we will do. So the armor will not give us a +1 to the combat, but it will keep one of the German units out of the fight. So we remove this one because we're not using it. We throw it back in the cup because we were only using it to mark that as a contested area. And we draw a 2 infantry, and we put that in there, and that gives them a 3. We roll our dice, and the Allies, again, with luck that is typical of my games, they roll just a 1 while the Germans roll a 4. So that gives the Germans a 7, and it gives the British a 5, or the Commonwealth a 5. I keep saying British, it's the Commonwealth. They get a 5 because these are actually New Zealanders. So that's a difference of 2. Now you can reduce or retreat, and we only have to do it with 2. We have 3 units here, so we can retreat this one and our lead unit and leave this guy here, which keeps this area as contested. So we maintain our toehold in this area, which is good, and we retreat these 2 back here, where they may end up having to take part in the counterattack right there. So the player will now, we elect to do area 10 next, which is this guy right here. So the counterattack die roll is a 2, but it's lowered to a 1 by the DRM. And a 1 is a no counterattack, so there is no attack in this area. So that's 2 down, and now we have to do the one in 61. So the last counterattack against area 61 is resolved with a die roll of 4, which is a serious counterattack, but lowered to a 3. So, with it being a 3, that is a small-scale counterattack, which means area's resistance factor plus 1. Resistance factors are 0, so they're only going to get 1. The Allies will commit their last air support there, just to try and maintain our toehold here, even though we would prefer not to have to use it. So we end up drawing, unfortunately for us, a 2 combat factor Stug 3. So the Germans have a combat factor of 3 with their +1 for this. See, again, I think that the play example is wrong. I think, because this says 0, so that should be a combat factor of 2. But we'll go with 3. We'll say it's 3. The British, or Commonwealth rather, has a 3 as well. So both sides roll. The Germans get a 4, and the Allies this time get a little bit better and roll a 3. So that still results in the German total being higher by 1. So we have to take one loss. We can either retreat or take a step loss. So we're going to actually this time elect to take a step loss, and we're going to pop that there. So his combat factor gets reduced to a 2. And the area is now contested, so our Stug 3 unit will remain, and we'll just turn it upside down to indicate that it is contested. And that concludes the play example. So we're still in turn 1, and we start a new action phase here. So we have no air support left. And we would go to round 2, and we have no air support left. Now, until you roll a 0 on the counterattack, or you get to 6. So if you roll a 0 on the counterattack table, which is right here, so you see no counterattack and immediate end of operations phase, proceed to end phase of the turn. So that would be the end of it. The most you can have is 6. So we're gonna do round 2, and first thing we have to do is roll to determine our number of action points. So we roll and we add 4 for our clear weather. So let's roll, and this time we're really gonna roll because we're not doing the play example now. And we got a 3. So a 3 plus 4, of course, is 7. So we have 7 action points. And now we will move, we'll use 2 action points to move A and B of the 24th into Area 48, jumping the river. Now we do have to put a counter on here that says crossed river, because that's going to impact our die roll, because that's going to be a die roll modifier. So now we have the Germans have a base resistance level of 1. We'll roll a die, odd or even. We got an even, which is, of course, they get 2 extra. So since we did not add our artillery support, I was holding it in reserve. The Germans do get to draw 2, and they draw 2 infantry, 1 combat factor infantry, so they will go in here, giving them a total combat factor of 3. The New Zealanders have 4. Now we do have a cross river there as well, which is going to impact it. And the river crossing does give you a -1 DRM. So let's roll here and see what we get. And the Germans get a 2 and the New Zealanders get a 6. So that's actually really good. So 6 plus 4 is 10, -1 for this is a 3, is a 9, sorry, and 3 plus 2 is 5. So that's 9 to 5, which is a difference of 4. These guys go back in the cup, and we put a control marker here, and we can continue our movement now with these guys. And so as you can see now, we went from elevation 1 to elevation 1, so there was no elevation change. This is 1, and this is also 1. So what I think we'll do now is we're going to push our luck here and see if we can actually make some decent progress here. We're going to push into the jail. So we're going to move both of these guys into the jail. And we're going to use our last artillery support. Now that's 2 resistance level. And we're going to use our artillery support to reduce the Germans by 1. So that's going to give us no more artillery support. And we have to roll for the Germans to see odd or even, 1 or 2 additional units for them. It's an even, of course, so they get 2. And they draw out a sniper and a 1 machine gun. So we haven't seen the sniper yet. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, so what the sniper can do is take away victory points. Now, you roll a die. So let me get my German die ready. And the way it works is you roll the die, and if it's greater than the number of allied units, which is 2, the allied player loses a victory point. If there are no victory points to lose, then the one allied unit of the player's choice is immediately reduced. So basically, we have to roll a 1 or a 2, or we're going to lose victory points or get reduced. And we rolled a 5. So obviously that is higher than a 2. We currently, of course, do not have any victory points. So we're going to reduce Company B, which leaves us with a combat factor of 5. The Germans have a combat factor of 4. The sniper stays on the map with a combat factor of 1. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 2 here. So it is 5 to 4. And actually, I forgot to reduce the number of units drawn. I just realized that. So I'm going to use that instead as support. So they'll get a 5. So it's 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So we have 5 to 4. And we roll. And it is 3 to 5. So that is a plus 1 for the Germans. So we're going to retreat our guys back here. Like so. These guys will go back. We're going to try one more, I think. Why not? We'll try one more. So actually, I didn't move my action points down. We have 5 left. So let's go in here again. And again, we'll be at a 4. 4 total. They have 2. So we'll roll. And again, they get a 6. So we're going to draw 2 out. And we get an armor and a 1 infantry. So again, it's going to be a 4. But we have an armor that we have to check on first. So the Stug 3, because the blue there's gray units too. Once we get German reinforcements on board, we could see some Panzer IVs. Right now, we only have Stugs. So it's the Stug 3. So a German armor unit cannot be used for combat in a level 3 or higher. This is only a 1. So level 3 would be like here. They're talking about elevation. So, up closer to Monte Cassino, which is the mountain. These are all 3 over in this area, right? That's the high ground, so to speak. So that's not the case here. So they couldn't be pulled there. If you drew that, you throw it back. If you drew it again, then they would just be reduced by a number of 1. So you can only draw the tank in areas of level 2 or below. So when a German armor unit's drawn, the player selects 1 allied unit and rolls a die. So we'll use, I guess we'll use this guy since he's already reduced. So we're going to roll a die. If it's less than or equal to his CF, the allied unit's reduced before combat's resolved. If it already is reduced, it's withdrawn. If already reduced, so it's a 4, which is higher. So that means that it is going to stay. So that's the benefit of using the smaller unit. So they stay, but again, we've got a pretty balanced attack here. It's 4 against 4. So we're going to roll and hope that the New Zealanders can roll higher than the Germans this time. And it's 5-2. So they did. They did work out. So that's enough to remove these guys and put a control marker here in the jail area. And I think at this point, because we moved here was 1, there was 2, and then the second attack was 3. So they're done. Now let's spend 2 more points to give us 3, and we're going to move these guys up to here, which they can do. They can go through here and then across and into here to hold that area for us. Now you can't attack across this line here. If you look, the elevation here is 1 and here it's 3. So that's like a cliff, I would assume. So this is a cliff face. You can't attack up there. we have to go around it. So we're going to have to go around this way and come up to get to this victory point area for the Castle Hill. And for the same reason, right, we have a 1 here next to the 3. You can't attack through here. You have to go here first, uphill, and then uphill, or uphill and uphill. Very, very sensible map design here as well. Now, no combat here. Let's have them try and get to the yeah, we can try to have them take the nunnery. Why not? So we'll move these guys into here. We'll have Company C be the lead unit. That is a total of 4. We have no more support to apply. So again, we're going to roll a die for the Germans. Hope we get an even number, because then they'll only be drawing 1 shit out, or an odd number rather, and that is what we got. So they only draw 1, a 1 machine gun. Okay, so again, with the machine gun, we have to check it. So you subtract the map area's resistance level, which is a 2, from the die roll we're about to make. Subtract 1 from the die roll if any attacking unit is marked as having crossed a river, which is not the case, or attacked uphill, which is also not the case. Add 2 if a full-strength allied armor unit, which is also not the case. So basically, we have a DR of -2, and it has to be equal or less than the CF for the allied units, which are both 3. So yeah, basically we're gonna be in trouble here. That's a 2. So a 2 plus a 2 is a 4, but that is not less than the combat factor of these guys. Thankfully, it's more. So that actually worked out. I was expecting to get nailed there. So we do have the 4-3 advantage now on our die roll, and let's see what happens. Germans rolled a 6, Allies rolled a 5, so that is a tie. So again, we're going to turn this guy upside down, and we have a contested area. Okay, so we have a contested area there, and so now we still have 3 points left. So what we will do, I think, is we're going to use 2 of them, and we're going to move A and B of the 25th into area 50, cross the river. So again, we got to put across the river here and take that DRM on our attack. This is a 0. So we've got a 4 and they've got a 0. We roll for the Germans to see how many units we pull. And I threw the die across the table instead of into the tower. We got a 5, so they draw 1. I'm going to draw out 1, and it's a 1 infantry. So I got lucky there. So that is a 4-1. And we do get a -1 on our die roll because of the river. So crossing the river. So essentially it's 3-1. And the British or New Zealanders got a 2 and the Germans got a 1. So that's a 2 for the Germans and a 5 for the British with our DRM applied. So that's going to result in them taking this, and these guys go away. Now in theory you can put control markers in all of these, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to know that all these white numbers mean that they are actually Allied control. So what do we do now? We have 2 0 areas here, so we could try and move up and get into an area maybe where we could, because that was 1, so we could go here, right? So let's do that. So we're going to move to area 42, and from here what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we just did. So this is a 0, so we're going to roll for the Germans and see what they get. They got a 6, so we're going to draw 2 out this time, unfortunately. And we get an armored unit and a 1 infantry. So again, with the armor unit, we have to roll. We have a 3. They're both 3, so we'll use B. We roll, and if it's less than or equal to the combat factor, Allied unit is reduced. And it is above it, so it is not. So I got lucky there. That was a 5. So now we have a 4 to 2 rather, combat to resolve here. And I'm going to roll that again because it bounced out of my hand. 3 to 1. So the Allies will win this one as well. So these guys will go back into the pot. This gets a control marker. And these two will now take their third and final move into this box right here. And we'll try again. So again, we roll for the Germans. It's an odd, so they only get 1 unit this time. It is a 2 infantry. So that is a total of 4 to 2. We roll. And it is a 4 for the New Zealanders and a 1 for the Germans, which is a 8 to 3. So the Germans lose again. And typically this is a lot tougher than this. I've been rolling pretty well here. So that is their third move, and that would end their turn. So they're going to stop. I've got 1 action point left, and we will use it to move Company C here. I'm going to stick that there. We're going to go 1 and 2. Or should I go 1, 2? Yeah, no, we'll go here. We'll go here. The stacking limit, by the way, is in the rules stacking 3 infantry units if they're all the same battalion. So these are the 24th, so that's why I could not move him here or here because he's in a different battalion. I could move him here, but I couldn't reach it. I guess I could actually. 1, 2, 3. I could do that, or I could just move him here. Let's move him here. Move him here. Now, ideally, these guys can start making some some movement as well. The game is tough because you've got a lot of things going on here. So now we'd have to do the German counterattack phase. Okay, so we have 4 possible counterattacks to roll. Counterattacks are if any contested area. So we have 3 of those here, here, and here. We also have, well, you'd also be able to, as we saw previously, any areas that are adjacent to a German-controlled victory area, which is this one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 to do. So you roll 1 die first to see if there is one. They get a -1 on this turn, or this round, because it's the second round. They'll get a -2 on third and later rounds to kind of simulate the Germans' limited strength. They roll a 5, which becomes a 4, and a 4 is a serious counterattack. So we're going to start here. Resistance level or factor +2. So they're going to draw two units. Well, we got to put this one back first. Shake them up. Draw 2. And we get a 1 infantry and a 2 infantry. So that's a 3. And the New Zealanders only have a 2. So it's 3 to 2 Germans. And it's a 6-6. So the Germans win, and these guys will get eliminated, and they go back to the Allied reserve box. And the Germans have taken control of that area. Now we'll do this one. And we'll roll again to see what we get. It's a 6, which becomes a 5. Reinforcements. Draw number of German units equal to the area plus the resistance factor. So we're going to draw 3. And we now get to put our 15th Panzer Grenadier units. And then these are the gray guys that I mentioned. They're reinforcements, so they're going to go into the cup as well. So we've got 3 machine gun units, 2 2s and a 1 in. 3 infantry units, 2 2s, trust me bro, 2 2s and a 1 also in there. Couple of Panzer IV units, a 2 and a 1, and a couple of artillery units as well, a 2 and a 1. So they all go in the cup. I'll shake it up. We'll draw out 3. This is going to be bad news for the Allies, I'm pretty sure. We get a 2. That is the Stug. We get a 1 Panzer Panzer 4, and we get a 1 infantry. So that could be worse. That they have a 5. We have also a 5. We both have armor. So we can do our armor duel, or we can just, well, let's do the armor duel. Why not, right? So our tank duel, the player rolls a die. It's a 1. So if it's odd, the Allied armor fires first, and the player rolls a die. So we'll roll our red one this time. It's a 3. If the DR is less than or equal to the Allied armor's CF, return the German armor. It is not, though. So it's not. If it was, we would give up one of those Now, do we do it twice? Since we have 2 units, I wonder if we do it twice. I'm just going to play it that we're not going to do it twice. So we're going to use our armor unit here, I guess, and they have to roll a die, and if it's less than that number, it is not for this one, and now we'll do the 1. It is also not, so they don't impact, they don't destroy anything. So they've got 1, 3, 4, 5. We have 3, 4, 5 as well. So it is 5 to 5. And we got a 6 to 3 result. So despite that, that is a +3, so that these 3 guys all get ditched because it's 3. And we retain control of this area, which is nice, having lost this one. So now we have to do this guy over here. So again, we roll. Whoops. Roll. We got a 2. And a 2 minus 1 is a 1, and that is a no counterattack. Okay, so no counterattack there. It remains contested. We've got this last one to do here. We roll again. And that is also a 2, which again becomes a 1, and that is also no counterattack. So we did not get a 0, which means we would go to round 3. And in this one, when we roll for German counterattacks, we're going to subtract 2. So as you get closer to 6, well, it doesn't go any lower than a -2, but as you get closer to 6, obviously you get a better chance of rolling that 0 or less, which would end up being the end of the operations phase and the end of the turn. So that is going to actually do it for this video. It's gotten quite long. I would have preferred to be able to do the whole turn, but it takes a little while when you're trying to explain, and I'm checking rules and so on as I go along to try and make sure I'm doing this correctly. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of what the game looks like. I will do a second part and maybe see if we can go a little faster, maybe mix it up and do a little AAR type thing. If you've seen some of my past videos with AAR, you would know what that means. You know, the Allies here don't have any support left, so we may go, you know, a little light here on our activations. We'll see. You know, I can maybe activate activate these guys again or something, these 2, and try and or I can move one of these units up into here and try to get you can also move D in down here, and maybe have the 25th go this way, trying to link up with the 26th, and have the 24th kind of go around here and then up to try and get up to the castle. These are just the strategies I'm thinking of, because one of the things that Paul Rohrbaugh, the designer, mentions in his notes is that you need a plan. So that is my plan for this particular scenario. So I will be back in a week for the second part of this, and then we'll follow that up most likely by playing Aachen, the other game, that one designed by Michael Ranella and using the same system as is in Stalingrad, Advance to the Volga, and Manila, Streets of Fire, both of which I have and enjoy. I like that system a lot. But I hadn't played this particular system before. I'm not even sure if this is something that Mr. Rawball cooked up specifically for this game or if this is one of his systems. He's a pretty prolific designer, so he's got a lot of games out there. And I have some, but nothing I don't think that I've played that matches this. So that's going to do it for now. I've babbled long enough. Thank you for watching. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. If you have something to say, please post it in the comments area. I'll do my best to respond. But that will do it. I am Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel. It is Solitaire Sunday. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.